Alright, guys, we have our 5th week of Kino's Jump Journeys, and I'm thinking we cut out all the intro stuff and just jump right on into the list with Tokyo Demon Bride Story, Chapter 4, at a lower 4 out of 10. Boring, trash, garbage, mind numbing, trite. Please make it stop. I don't want the dumb exposition, I don't want it feigning emotional moments, and I certainly don't want it pretending it will be serious. How much do you want to bet the lurking threat is just going to be another girl in the harem? This series is lame enough to do it too, I believe it. And after that, we have Witch Watch, Chapter 70 at a 4 out of 10. Uh, the girl witches had a sleepover and it wasn't funny, and Meow seems to be pretty definitively crushing on that werewolf boy, and that's cool, I guess. Yeah. Elusive Samurai, Chapter 79 at a 6 out of 10. Okay, so this was fun and all. The beginning dragged a lot and it was pretty boring. I really don't care about these fighter guys, and their personalities are nothing special, and their designs are just extremely bland. When we got to Tokiyuki taunting that one guy, that was fun, and I look forward to the one-on-one battle between that guy and Tokiyuki's sword boy, but I'm not really gonna hold my breath for it to be interesting or anything. After that, we have Roboco, Chapter 106, at an upper 6 out of 10. Definitely not a bad chapter, one of the better ones even. It's a simple chapter about the boys being overly romantic about the night sky, and it has Gorilla and Matsuo, so I'm already on board. We end the chapter seeing a meteor coming to Earth, so that's fun, cool. I'm sure next chapter it'll be like a One Punch Man gag type situation with the meteor. But that's about it there. Also, we're getting an anime, so that'll be cool. Just wanted to throw that in there real fast. After that, we have Ginka and Gluna, chapter 3 at a lower 7 out of 10. Alright, this was a pretty fun chapter. It gave us a new character. He seems to be a giant woman, and that's always fun. We also learn about some sort of magic guild slash job place where you take on quests and whatnot, and a potentially fun stretch of story was basically murdered for the sake of a joke, continuing the series' love for skipping stuff all the time. For now, I just hope that whatever comes next will make this fast pace worth it. That being said, the chapter really doesn't give me anything else to comment on, so I'll stop here. Now we have Super Smartphone Chapter 20 at a 7 out of 10. I mean, it was a nice chapter. It shifts focus entirely to Zenichiro, and we learn a lot about him. He plans to own his father's pharmaceutical company with the goal of making immortality possible in 10 years, which is neat. Apparently, his goal is to revive his dead sister, something he's been planning for years. Uh, Even more reason to think he won't be the final antagonist, and also more reason to think this thing is basically cancelled, in my opinion. Giving the villain a whole thing right now, emotionally and whatnot. It feels very much we're being killed. Please make it interesting fast. But not much more to say there. Now we have PPPPPPP, Chapter 50, at an upper 7 out of 10. So this chapter, we explore the events of last week with the dead Lucky, or however you want to label him. That one guy named Sodome, he talks to Lucky about what he basically saw in the musical vision place, boiling it down to a message he should take away from it. There's a lot of talking here and a lot of stuff I'm not going to get into because who has the time? What it comes down to is that Lucky has decided what he values and cares about most is helping his siblings be happy, which is really just an affirmation of what he's already felt, but it's cool that he has the chance to reaffirm that to himself. This chapter was kind of too talky to me and got a little too much into philosophy, but I definitely enjoyed it. Speaking of enjoying it, we have Akane Banashi, Chapter 31, at an upper 7 out of 10. We got a nice chapter this week, consisting of a lot of build-up to what is to come. We get a meeting with the Masters of Rakugo, which is cool. I'm not too sure who they are and specifically where they stand in relation to who, but it's pretty cool regardless. My hope is that as time goes on it'll make sense, but for now all we need to know is that they are important. They mostly talk about the future of Rokugo and who influences it how, uh, but again, it's a little bit over my head for now. With Akane, she asked the bald kid to teach her to drum and dance, in hopes it will improve her Rokugo, which I'm sure it will. We get a panel saying 8 months later, so I guess we're getting a time skip. It could be just a brief flash into the future, only for us to be back in the present next chapter. But I'm willing to bet that we're actually just skipping 8 months into the future. I imagine so we can just skip to when Akane is good at the drums, and we can kind of see the fruits of her labor. So that'll be fun. Let's find out next week. Now up next we have Blue Box Chapter 70 at an 8 out of 10. A really cute and fun, yet in some ways scary chapter. This manager harlot is really determined to make things difficult for our OTP, as it were. But no one can deny that she's forcing things to progress story-wise, which is good in and of itself. It really seems like she might convince Taiki to date Hina, and Chinatsu seems to have a new love interest, even if I gutturally hate him and want him gone. And this autumn training situation seems to not be helping anything. All I can say for certain is that things seem like they're gonna get crazy. And Blue Box is always determined to keep me anxious, which I guess is a good thing. Now we have Mashle, chapter 125 at an 8 out of 10. I think I almost always give Mashle an 8, but hey, that just goes to show the quality here. This chapter we finish the fight with Jester Guy and Orter, as well as getting a really neat flashback. We learn that Orter had a friend who was really into justice and responsibility and all that, and the two of them worked together as like student police or whatever, snitches, I'm not sure what you would call it. Orter was never really all that into it, only living life with enough effort to get what he wants, and nothing more. His friend wanted him to take life more seriously, but to little effect until one day, after some huge incident, his friend gets mortally wounded. After a talk about how he really appreciates Orter, he asks him to carry on his vision. I think it's pretty cool that Orter's whole reason for believing in rules is that his best buddy cared about them, and so he carries on his will. Pretty simple and sweet, good chapter, and good feels. Now we have Aliens Area, chapter 16 at an 8 out of 10. I don't know, you guys. Aliens Area is just really good. I know some people find this stuff to be boring, but I found this meeting really exciting. To me, it felt completely rational, and how they went about it also felt really natural. Especially that one guy just asking a few questions, thinking it made sense, and deciding to side with our guys. What was even cooler was how abruptly everyone joined our side after a little pushing, as they all logically see why they need to act, as well as not wanting to stand by when stuff like this happens. We also see how Tatsumi and Shiraku got their implants. Tatsumi's parents were A3 defectors, and were killed for it, in a fire, just like Akane, funny enough. I'm sure that's not going to be a trend going forward. So the implants are from these weird alien guys, and to make a long story short, Tatsumi's parents, after defecting, helped them escape, and as repayment during the fire, they implant Tatsumi to, I guess, help him survive, and all that. Moving to Shiraku, he got his implants as a baby, and was raised by Foreign Affairs 5, though I don't think that's the full story. He's asked if he's emotionally charged in all this, and if that's influencing him. And after a panel seeing his blank face, to me it seems pretty obvious that he's not being entirely truthful when he says no. But we'll have to find out more about that in the future, assuming that Aliens area doesn't get canceled, which we're in the prime time for, so let's be on our toes, gang. Let's hope for the best. Yeah. Following that, we have Yozakura family, or Mission Yozakura family, forgive me, Jam, at an upper 8 out of 10. When Mission Yozakura family wants to be good, it can be really, really great. This chapter, we find out that Momo, that's the dad, right? Momo has apparently been with the kids on a giant ship. Our team raids said ship, and we get some great action shots with a short skirmish, and we'll be in full fighting force next week, I imagine. Some cool things. Apparently, the ship is literally alive and organic, somehow powered by flower power. I still have no idea how this whole blood situation works, but it's cool, so whatever. On a similar note, Kyoichiro does some cool circle stuff with his strings that do some crazy blast stuff. No clue what's going on there, but I like it. I'd like to explore more what exactly this brainwashing stuff is doing. I'd personally like it if they actually do care about their dad and they're somewhat acting on their own. It could explore some cool ideas about having feelings for your abusers, even if that's a touchy topic. But this is a shonen, and also it's Yozakura family, so I don't really see that happening. But it would be cool. Next up, we have One Piece, chapter 1061, at an upper 8 out of 10. Ever since Wano ended, we've been getting practically non-stop reveals, and this chapter is certainly no exception. We open seeing Jewelry Bonnie, though before much can happen, we have to deal with a giant mecha shark thing, which just so happens to have a Vegapunk logo. And boy, howdy, does it wreck the crew and tear them a new one. They can barely manage to avoid it, let alone fight back. Our crew is separated as a few crewmates drown, and Jinbei has to save them. And then a giant mech stops the shark, who also happens to have that same old wacky Vegapunk logo. I'm sure it's nothing. Once on shore, Luffy, Chopper, Bonnie, and Jinbei talk a bit, though not really about anything too important for now. At a naval base nearby, I assume, we see Tashigi taking care of the big children from Punk Hazard, and Helmeppo is raising a fuss about wanting to go rescue Kobe, though right now the powers that be don't feel too thrilled about the idea of starting a war with Blackbeard. Though I have a feeling that if Garp catches wind, we most definitely will see some movement from the world government. And at the end, we see the giant mech holding the Sunny, and at the helm is Vegapunk? What? And he or she is a girl? Due to the 2 on her chest, I'll assume she's like a cyborg or an android or something like that. Most definitely not the original Vegapunk, but either way, it is insane to finally meet Vegapunk after all these years. One only hopes that they won't disappoint. Following that, we have Undead Unluck, chapter 128, at an upper 8 out of 10. And man, this chapter goes so hard it's not even funny. Everyone is fighting with all their lives to hold off God for 10 minutes. And all Fuko can do is watch and wait. And it visibly hurts her so much. We hear more about what exactly these gods are doing. And it does very much seem to literally be a game to them. Luna goes more into it here, and as it turns out, Sun isn't necessarily trying to stop humanity from reaching him. Not strictly speaking, anyway. The whole point of humanity, it seems, is to try to reach the gods. The Umas are like hurdles and tests of might, I suppose. Now, Sun does want to stop them, but only because of a bet he made with Luna. So Sun is a far less mysterious and planning figure. He and Luna are literally just passing time with a fun game, and I have to say, I can't think of any better way for this to have gone. I think it's really cool. The fight with Sun is not going too well, Everyone's starting to drop like flies, and the body horror seems to only be getting more intense. Victor steps in at the end with Juiz. So next chapter we'll see them in action, and possibly some cool combo techniques with their two powers. Who knows? Could be fun stuff up ahead. My Hero Academia, chapter 367, at a 9 out of 10. Okay, so no two ways about this one. This was a really cool chapter. It's good to see that Star and Stripes' inclusion wasn't completely for nothing, and the fact that the pilots came to help Deku because they see him as our only hope and the successor to All Might, Star's hero, is really cool. On the ground, Deku rocks Shiggy into the dirt, and Shiggy even comments that he's gotten stronger. Really shows how final this final battle is. Both Deku and Shiggy are pretty much at their peak now, as far as this arc goes at least, though I wouldn't be too surprised to see a last-minute power-up from either side. The scene where Deku sees the utter devastation that was the battle is really well done. He just breaks. Knowing that he was too late, or thinking he was too late at least, as well as getting taunted by Shiggy, hurts Deku so deeply and makes him feel so bad that he completely loses control of his powers. This is pretty empirically bad, as when he snaps, he's super predictable. So Shiggy figures so to snap his neck and move on with his day. Luckily, Lemillion is there to snap Deku out of it by telling him that things are actually still pretty okay. And no one has died anyway, so it's like, cool, don't worry about it. So with control over himself, he's now ready to fight. End chapter. This really does feel like a good MHA again. And even if it doesn't change the past, I'm glad that it seems like we'll be having fun going forward. So let's hope that this keeps on going the way it is. After that, we have Jujutsu Kaisen, chapter 198 at a 9 out of 10. I'm willing to bet this is the end of this section, and aside from a possible follow-up chapter, I'd guess we're gonna switch focus again soon. Seeing Nalia's domain was really sick, and how fleshy, gross, and disturbing it was, is a perfect extension of Nalia when you think about it. I didn't really understand how stopping them made them bleed and all that, like with his power, and how they can't move unless he does, and them trying to makes him like squirt out blood. But it definitely looked really cool. I also like how Maki literally does not have to follow any of the rules because she has no cursed energy, and we've now seen the idea of her becoming Toji to completion, and I couldn't be more excited. Especially with that heart-to-heart she had with Mai and her, like, mind realm type scenario. I'm not sure. So is Maki, like, just now the strongest person, like, alive and active? Aside from, like, the antagonists, she seems to, like, especially in the culling game, she seems to be, like, the strongest. And she is a part of the culling game, right? I mean, I guess being in here means that you are a part of the culling game. But I also thought that having no cursed energy means that these things don't recognize you. So wouldn't the whole curtain thing not recognize Maki as a player? I don't know. Maybe it does. Maybe it doesn't. I'm not smart enough to really get that. But where we go in the future, and especially where we go next, is a mystery to me. So let's hope that it's something cool. I look forward to it. And now we have Sakamoto Days, chapter 88, at a 9 out of 10. Serious and legitimate question: how do you make something as ridiculously good as Sakamoto Days? Every single section of this chapter is so good. With Sakamoto and Amane talking to Kashima, and how both funny and serious their conversation is, to a film guy in the classroom being an absolute beast and a goon. No series blends comedy and action as well as Sakamoto Days, and I'm very confident saying that. I was absolutely losing it when Kashima called Sakamoto a psycho killer who likes to hurt people on trains, and Sakamoto only somewhat understands the situation in general, and I find that really funny. And when that old lady teacher showed up, my dudes, it's about to get crazy, I promise you. I know that's like not a lot of detail, But Sakamoto Days doesn't need a lot of detail. All I'm saying is every single part was really fire, and I loved all of it. I'm not going to get into the nitty gritty because there's no reason to. And following that, at number one, shockingly, and shocking to all of you, not shocking to me because I know what I like. Number one today is High School Family Chapter 103 at a 9 out of 10. What a spectacular chapter. On my reread, I liked it even more than I first thought. As it turns out, Kotaro invited his tennis friends to speak on his behalf. They do a not-so-great job, pretty lackluster all things considered, which is definitely in character for them, being the lame tennis team that they are. But gosh, if it doesn't make me so emotional. Even they know that they didn't do a great job, but Kotaro says it was a good job specifically because it's what he wanted. All he needed was the people he cared about being there for him. And it's, oh man, I just love it so much, man. This, of course, doesn't get him any votes. So Nishi comes on as his character, the virtual Amazonas, a famous VTuber, and asks everyone to vote for him. This does much more in his favor and shows even more how his friends are there for him. The speeches are where Kotaro clinches the win, though. Haruka goes over the top, promising too much in a panic, while Kotaro just speaks from the heart with a really sweet speech. Everyone votes, and we end the chapter finding out that Kotaro won as he's watering the tree his family planted, a great sign that he accepts his life more now. Amazing stuff. Do y'all remember that one time when I said that High School Family was the best chapter this week? Well, that was kind of somewhat a lie. It was the best of the weekly series for sure, in my opinion. But we're not taking into account the real hard hitter, the real King of Kings. Chainsaw Man, chapter 105, at an upper 9 out of 10. I honestly don't even know how to talk about this chapter. There's so much going on and so much detail that I want to get into that I can't even wrap my head around what I should talk about first. But I suppose we'll start with how Asa and Yoru are coming out of school, and Yoru wants to do some funnel devil hunting, but Asa wants to visit her friend Yuko. Yoru, makes a big fuss out of it, but Asa introduces the idea of drawing a devil to the school instead of them hunting out a devil themselves, and Yoru thinks that's actually a pretty smart idea. But we drop the idea there when we go to actually visit Yuko. So we visit Yuko, who is still injured after the encounter with the Chainsaw Man. And she seems to be in a pretty good mood. She's chilling, really happy that her friend Asa's visiting her, and it's cool. She's like on a sun chair outside having a good old-fashioned time. She asks Asa if they two can share secrets, because that's what best friends do, and she wants Asa to be her best friend. And being pretty alright with the idea, Asa decides to share a funny little story about how she Peter Pans in school one time. And let me tell you, Yuko finds it really, really funny, laughing her ass off. So, in return for the really juicy secret that Asa shared, Yuko thinks it's only fair that she shares an equally embarrassing secret. Her secret is she killed someone yesterday. Her neighbor. Specifically because he'd go gamble at pachinko, even though he was on welfare for disability. And my words alone cannot describe to you the paneling here, just how perfect and beautiful it is. How the repeated panels just really show the time passing and the awkwardness of the situation. It's just perfect. This is so good. And this is the main reason why I said I don't know where to start, because there's so much I could say here, but all I will say is that it's really good, guys. Chainsaw Man, Tatsuki Fujimoto, literally like the best manga and the best mangaka of the decade, if not the century, if not of all time. I do not feel bad saying that whatsoever. And yeah, uh, it's just like played really casually until Asa like kind of starts to freak out, but in like the kind of way where you don't want to visibly freak out because it's a very dangerous situation. You have to approach it carefully. It's really well done. Apparently, she made a contract with the Justice Devil, which means that she, can do all kinds of justice-related powers. We don't know what she traded yet. I don't know if I want to know what she traded. It could be anything. It could be lives, like a promise to enact justice. That would be my initial guess, but it could be something more fucked up. I don't know. And also now, because of her powers, she can like read minds, and now she knows that she killed her teacher and class president, and she knows about Yoru, and she's willing to keep it on the DL because she has a bestie now, and besties before law, I guess. So she's not gonna do anything. In fact, she's gonna help Asa, helping in quotations. But basically, she tells Asa to not come to school tomorrow. The classic school shooter line, which is terrifying, and I'm really excited to see what it's all about. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be amazing, and I can't even imagine a better chapter. This is the first upper 9 out of 10 I remember giving in a very, very long time. It's pretty much as close to a like perfect thing you can get. The only reason why I'm not giving it a 10 is because the idea of giving something a 10 out of 10 is terrifying to me, and I don't want to commit. But if something could be a 10 out of 10, this most likely would be a 10 out of 10. And yeah, that's all I have to say about Chainsaw Man this week. And it's all I have to say about Jump in general. Very good stuff. Very sad I'm not going to have Chainsaw Man to talk about next week. But, whatever. I can handle. It's cool. Hope you all have a good day and a good night. I'll talk to you later.